Welcome to Adventures of Kendall. This is Fort Tejon. If you've seen our previous episode about Fort Tejon, then you know its general history from active military fort to the state park it is today. Well, we were in for a surprise while we were making it. While we were shooting our Fort Tejon episode, we came upon a Civil War Living History Day. And to explain what that is, let's ask a volunteer about the event. I'm here with one of the volunteers at Fort Tejon. What's your name and what do you do here?
My name is Dan and I'm a living history interpreter, volunteer here at Fort Tejon State Historic Park.
And what exactly do you do here at this place?
Well, what we're doing this weekend in particular is portraying the Second California Volunteer Infantry as they were here in February of 1864. So we're kind of portraying to the day, to the hour of that regiment, of that company of the regiment when they came here.
What does that include?
Well, what we're going to be doing here is representing the entire company as much as we can and as accurately as we can for the portrayal to the public for, again, living history interpretation.
Oh, so how often do you do this?
This particular event is only done once a year. They do other living history events throughout the year. You can normally find that out on the website. But this particular event for the Second California Volunteer Infantry is specifically once a year, and that's it, in which we garrison the fort as it had been, and the barracks itself is open up for the public as well.
And what can the public do during these events?
Well, the public can see what a soldier's life actually was in 1864. Because even though you've got the American Civil War raging on the West Coast, when the war began, you've got all the U.S. regulars that were stationed here on the West Coast, and all of those U.S. regulars were immediately shipped back to the East Coast in order to engage the Confederacy, with the beginning of the American Civil War. So that left kind of a, what you might call a little bit of a power vacuum that needed to be filled, because the role that the U.S. regulars were fulfilling here was obviously for protection of the settlers, protection of Native Americans, and then also suppression of Native Americans, and all of that had to wind up, somebody had to step up, and that's where the California Volunteers were then recruited in 1861 and then wound up being dispersed throughout the state. We're all volunteers. We take time off from work in order to come here and try and bring history alive, because it's the kind of thing that most of the time you're lacking from a classroom, if you will.
Oh, thank you. But it's not just the soldiers that get attention here. Over in this spot, we'll see the ladies doing the laundry for the camp here at Fort Tejon. And they'll even explain what their role was during the Civil War. But there are other things to see here. Inside the quartermaster's office, we'll check out the Blacksmith Shop, photography studio, and magic lantern show. Come on, let's go inside. Our first stop is the Blacksmith Shop. Now, if you've seen our episode about Columbia, California, you pretty much know that the blacksmith was the main metal worker within a small town, or in this case, a Civil War camp. Here, we can see the tools and techniques that were used to provide metal products for the soldiers in the Army.
Tent awning stakes they were using were narrower profile, and they were just pulling out to the dirt. So this is a lot wider. Hopefully it'll stay in the dirt.
Our next point of interest is the photography studio, where we can get an authentic Civil War portrait on a tintype. Inside, you'd see all the tools needed to make such a print, including the chemicals and glass to help with the photography. Now, a tintype is a very small picture on a piece of tin, about the size of an iPhone. Now, we're not sure why would a tintype photography studio would be at a Civil War camp, but we believe the tintypes from these camps were little mementos to the families of soldiers. Now, past the photography, the workshop has been converted into a nice little theater where we can watch great shows being projected from the magic lantern. A magic lantern is an early form of image projector that shoots light through a glass plate onto a large screen where the image can be shown. And here are the glass plates that will be used in the magic lantern. One last room to check out in the quartermaster's office is the leatherworks, where things can be made or fixed here in this shop. Whether it's cobbling work on shoes, saddles and tack for the horses, and these small little pouches. There is so much to see in this room that would have been applied to the Army. Now, it's one thing to see soldiers relaxing in the barracks, but it's another to see what they ate. So let's go chat with the cook. So we're here in the cook shed at Fort Tejon with, what's your name?
My name is Nick.
Hi Nick, what do you do here?
I am the company cook.
So what exactly the company cook does at a fort like this?
Company cook is going to be cooking for all 30 of us here, the entire unit. Starting early morning before the sun comes up, coffee's going on, breakfast is getting started, and then we're making all 3 meals throughout the day.
What kind of meals would a soldier get?
Sure. 3 square meals. We're looking at a meat ration usually for each meal. In this case, we got a leg of lamb for today. Starch of some kind. Rice was very common. Potatoes, kind of whatever the Army can get their hands on, as well as a bread. We're fortunate here at the fort to have a lot of fresh bread at our disposal. When you're out in the field a little bit more, you don't really have that luxury, so you're gonna have a lot more of a hard biscuit, a hard tack, hard cracker, that kind of starch. And then whatever vegetables we can kind of find in this area, whatever's kind of seasonal and whatever the Army can get.
What do they serve them on? What do they serve the meals on?
Sure. Tin plates, generally. That's what it's going to be. As well as tin cups. Got a couple tin cups floating around. Mostly metal, stuff that can kind of get knocked around a little bit. It's not going to break. You can kind of step on this, sit on this, and kind of shape it back to shape if needed. Lightweight also, so it's easy to kind of carry with you as you're on the move.
And were there like a schedule to have meals, or is it just open end?
Yeah, the officers would set the schedule. Breakfast, I believe, would be around 7 o'clock, 7:30 in that time. Lunch generally around noon, and then supper closer to 6 o'clock.
While talking to the chef at the cook shed was great, there is another place we can get a warm meal. Here in the officers' quarters, there's a working kitchen in the back. Now, unlike the cook shed, this is a well-furnished kitchen that you would have seen in a house during the 1860s. It even has a nice working fireplace to cook specific meals. And right now, they're making authentic Civil War biscuits. A fine little treat that you can have while in a Civil War camp. Back in the barracks, the troops are getting ready for the lowering of the flag ceremony. Now, before the flag can be removed, the troops participate in a set of drills outside of the barracks. And that is where we'll end our adventure. See you later, folks, and may your gifts bless the world.